You gotta stop allowing yourself to get so comfortable in the chaoticness of life. I hear people say all the time, I'm tired of this relationship. They're telling me all the negative things that the relationships bring in, the negatives their friendships bring in, how they're having all this stress and they have all these different limitations and all these different things are affecting their life, and they choose to stay the same. They choose to create no change because that change is uncomfortable. And you have to realize that chaos is not normal. Many of you have normalized chaos being in your life. Many of you have normalized always feeling like you need to prove yourself. Many of you have normalized you always needing to chase after people, or you always needing closure, or you not being able to be at peace without getting understanding, and you can't let go of people, and you have all these different things that are bringing you chaos to your life. You feel you need to constantly people please. You feel you constantly need to, again, prove your worth or prove your value or earn love from other people. You constantly need to stand out in some way, shape, or form in order to feel good enough about yourself. All these things are not normal, and we sometimes mistake love being something that has to be earned, or love being something that is hard to get, when I've been learning even myself that love is easy. Love isn't something that you have to force. Friendship or people liking you isn't something you need to prove yourself in order to have. But when you've constantly had that in your life, or you felt that way, or you adapted that belief or whatever, then you'll live according to that, and you'll allow yourself to be in situations that you have no business being in. And so sometimes you got to stop normalizing that. You have to realize that you have the ability to change you if you actually see the power that you have over your own life. Everybody loves to just give up and not even try. And I say this as somebody who used to do the same exact thing. I used to look at certain insecurities and certain things I would get attached to, certain things that would emotionally trigger me. I used to be like, well, I don't know, or that's just the way things have always been, or that's just how I am. And I wouldn't look any deeper into it, as if I had no type of power over my life, or as if I wasn't capable of changing myself internally. Really, we just have to look at ourselves and say, are we willing to make a change? Do we have the courage to make change? Do we have the courage to actually put in the effort to change our life in the way in which we're living it? And sometimes you're just not willing to make that effort, or you don't have the courage to make that choice, and that's something you got to live with. But for the ones of you who are truly tired of being where you're at, whether that's in certain relationships, whether that's in certain friendships, you're tired of being dictated by your fears, you're tired of letting the fear of the unknown control you and keep you in places that you don't deserve to be in, you have to realize you have the power to make these decisions. You have the power and the choice to step outside of that and not always be held against that situation or that insecurity or that fear or whatever. But you have to make that choice. You don't normalize you being around people who make you feel you have to be small in order to be enough for them, or people who don't bring out the best in you, people who don't make you feel like you're capable, or don't support you and don't make you believe in yourself. Like, these are things you have control of. You have the ability to remove yourself from that friendship. You have the ability to remove yourself from that relationship. And I get it. You have thoughts, you have fears. You constantly think you can fix things, or that you can do this and things will magically work out, or you're scared of whether you'll be able to replace them, or it took you so long to get this and so you'll never be able to find it again. All these things are reflections of insecurities. All these things are beliefs that you formed in some way, some shape, or somehow, and they're not always true. But you believing them to be true is limiting your own self. When you believe that there's nobody else out there for you, and that this is just the best that it gets, this toxic situation where you're constantly feeling stressed, you constantly having this anxiety, you constantly having your peace disturbed, and it's never safe, and you always feel like you got to chase, you always feel like you got to prove yourself. All these things are just things that you've been taught. All these things are just beliefs that you carry, that you have the ability to rewire, that you have the ability to change and restructure and develop a different perspective. You aren't chained or locked to these beliefs or this way in which you've always lived your life. You have the ability to change it, change the narrative, change the story in which you live by. Am I saying it's a comfortable process? No. Am I saying it's an impossible process? Absolutely not. But I am saying that it has to start with you having the courage to actually change your situation. Because you also have to understand, like, how much worse can it really get if where you already are feels like the worst case scenario. If you're in a relationship, if you're around friends where they lessen your self-esteem, they don't make you feel like you're enough, they always make you feel like you got to prove yourself, how much worse can it truly get than that? So you might as well go ahead and take a risk of being alone, or taking a chance to find people who are actually good for you, taking the chance to find people who are actually love you and don't love you conditionally. Like, what do you truly have to lose? You're losing something that already brings all this negativity and chaos to your life. And you also have to realize that you normalizing chaos makes you uncomfortable with peace. Sometimes we've always been in relationships where it feels like we gotta constantly, again, stand out, prove our value, prove our worth. We constantly got to do this and do that in order to be enough, in order for them to accept us. We constantly people please, and we think we can't disappoint them or else they'll want nothing to do with us. Or we constantly got to make sure we don't make them feel some type of way or hurt their feelings so they don't lose, or we don't lose them. When in reality, like, a peaceful relationship, a peaceful friendship or whatever, you won't have to walk on eggshells in order for it to remain. And you being so unfamiliar with peace, it'll make you feel like, dang, things aren't going right, or there's something wrong here, or this is too good to be true. And that's why it's so important that you understand what peace even looks like. What does healthy love even look like? What does a healthy friendship even look like? So that when you're actually in it, it doesn't scare you. And it doesn't feel like you're constantly like looking over your shoulder, waiting for yourself to be attacked, or waiting for the worst case scenario to happen. But instead, you're able to be present with it and just enjoy it for what it is. I know for myself, I used to always think I had to do things the hard way. And everything I did in life, I always felt like I needed to stand out. I always felt like, oh, if this person liked me too easily, that it was too good to be true, or that, you know, it wasn't worth my while, or that it wasn't valuable, and that my value was in the hard things. My value was in getting the people who were unavailable, or getting the people who wanted nothing to do with me. I had to go out my way and try and prove myself to them, try and earn them, and that would deem me as valuable. That would be deemed as something that was love, or that would be deemed as something that was worthwhile, and, you know, something that was actually good for me. When in reality, it was the easy things that were good for me. It was the things that didn't make me feel I had to prove myself. It was the things that didn't require me to stand out. It was the things that didn't make me feel I had to be somebody that I wasn't, that was actually what was healthy for my life. And so sometimes you got to realize, like, it being chaotic isn't normal. We automatically assume, oh, well, there's hardships in relationships, there's hardships in friendships, you know, there's things you got to work through. Not those type of things. There's not things where you should feel like you need to prove yourself, things where you should feel like you have to be somebody other than who you are. You know, relationship struggles and things like that, like, that just coming together and working things out. You know, you're having conversations and you're overcoming certain challenges, but it shouldn't be a constant battle of you feeling like you have this pressure on your back every day to perform in some type of way in order to save it. That's not healthy. That's not normal. And you shouldn't normalize it for your life, because all you're doing is normalizing chaos being in your life, and all you'll ever know is chaos, and you'll make chaos your home. And then when things are finally at peace, when things are going well and stuff, you don't know what to do with it, because you got so normalized or so comfortable with things always being so chaotic and things being all over the place, things always being out of order, and, you know, you always having to prove yourself, or, you know, people always feeling some type of way about you, that you won't even know what to do with peace. You know, you talk about having all these different limitations, all these different insecurities, all this pressure you feel you got on your back. You know, you feel you got to meet these standards, you got these expectations for yourself, all these things you've always lived by because that's what you were taught. You're capable of changing each and every one of those things. There's things within yourself that you're capable of becoming more secure within yourself and overcoming. You're always like, oh, I put my happiness in the hands of others, or, you know, I depend on other people to determine how I view myself. Like, that's not normal, but you're capable of changing it. You're capable of figuring out, how can I provide happiness to myself? How can I find peace with being alone? Many of you are afraid of being alone. How can I find peace with being alone? How can I learn to see my own value and understand who I am as a person, so that I'm not relying on other people to determine that for you, or determine that for me? Like, these are questions you can ask yourself. These are problems you can solve if you just choose to have the courage to do it. And again, sometimes we rely so much on our insecurities and playing victim to them, that we're so comfortable with them that we don't even want to create change, because change is much harder than just staying in comfort and remaining how things have always been. You know, being in chaos, you know, playing victim, always having something to complain about, always having some type of struggle, you know, always chasing after people. Like, it's easier to just keep doing those things and things remaining how they are than it is to get secure and whole within ourselves, to where we find peace without constantly needing to chase or prove ourselves to people. So, you know, stop normalizing chaos in your life, because nothing about chaos is normal. Life, love, friendships, relationships shouldn't be as hard as you choose to allow them to be, or as people have taught them to be, or have how people have made you feel they need to be. Truly question certain things. You know, is this relationship really for me? Is this friendship, does this make me feel like I constantly need to prove myself? Does this make me feel like I can actually be myself? And then do the internal work. You know, become whole with yourself. Understand who you are as a person. See your own value, so you're not relying on other people to deem you as a valuable person. Life is only as hard as you make it, and you are your greatest limit from the limitations you place on yourself. And so realize that and move forward accordingly. But, you know, I appreciate and love you guys as always. Be sure to check out the Discord down in the description, as well as signing up for the letting go to grow community that's launching very, very soon. But other than that, catch you guys in the next video. Peace.